how to manipulate female attraction using disrespect. According to Machiavelli, he ignored her text for 3 days. When he finally responded, it was one word: busy. She should have walked away. Instead, she found herself crafting longer messages, trying harder to get his attention, questioning what she'd done wrong. Meanwhile, another man had been sending her thoughtful paragraphs, remembering details about her day, and showing genuine interest in her life. She barely noticed him. Machiavelli understood this dark psychology centuries ago. It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. In attraction, strategic disrespect often creates more desire than respect ever could. The cruel truth is that kindness is forgettable, but calculated indifference is addictive. Hit subscribe if you're ready to learn the psychology behind why nice guys finish last. Comment, "Nice guy trap," if you've ever been too respectful and watched women lose interest. Smash that like button to help this reach men who think being nice is the path to attraction. Only revealing these controversial techniques if we hit 30,000 likes in 48 hours. This knowledge challenges everything society teaches about romance. Section 1. The Respect Paradox. When kindness kills attraction. The most devastating truth about female psychology is that excessive respect often signals low value, while strategic disrespect can signal high value. Machiavelli wrote, "Men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand, for everyone can see and few can feel. Women judge men more by how they're treated by them than by what they say about them. The man who treats her like a queen often gets treated like a peasant, while the man who treats her like she's replaceable often becomes irreplaceable." Machiavelli understood that power dynamics govern all human relationships, including romantic ones. The person who needs the relationship less controls the relationship more. When you show excessive respect, deference, and accommodation, you signal that you need her approval more than she needs yours. This creates an automatic power imbalance that kills attraction at the biological level. David learned this lesson after years of failed relationships where he'd been the perfect boyfriend. He remembered every anniversary, never forgot to text good morning, always prioritized her needs over his own plans, and consistently sought her approval for decisions both big and small. Every relationship followed the same pattern: initial interest, gradual loss of excitement, eventual breakup where she claimed to want someone more challenging. The pattern broke when David accidentally discovered the power of strategic disrespect during a period when work stress made him less attentive to his girlfriend Sarah. He forgot their 1-month anniversary, responded to her texts hours later with brief replies, and canceled a dinner date to handle a business crisis. Instead of anger, Sarah's interest intensified. She began initiating more conversations, suggesting activities, and working harder to earn his attention. Women are biologically programmed to be attracted to men who display high social value. Throughout human evolution, high-value men had options and didn't need to desperately pursue any individual woman. This evolutionary programming still operates today. The man who appears to have choices seems more valuable than the man who acts like he has none. Excessive respect communicates that you view her as above your league, which makes her unconsciously view you as below hers. When you consistently prioritize her comfort over your own boundaries, you signal that your needs are less important than hers. When you always accommodate her schedule while sacrificing your own plans, you demonstrate that your time is less valuable than hers. The psychological principle at work is called intermittent reinforcement, the most addictive behavioral conditioning pattern. When respect and attention are given consistently, they become expected and lose their impact. When they're given unpredictably, they become precious and create psychological addiction. The woman who receives constant validation takes it for granted. The woman who receives occasional validation obsesses over earning more. Strategic disrespect doesn't mean being abusive or cruel. It means refusing to elevate her comfort above your own self-respect. It means saying no when her requests conflict with your priorities. It means maintaining your standards even when she tests them. It means treating her well when she earns it, and withdrawing attention when she doesn't. The modern dating landscape has created an epidemic of men who believe that worshiping women will make them attractive to women. this belief is not only false but counterproductive. Women want to feel like they've won a prize, not like they are the prize. When you make yourself too available, too accommodating, too eager to please, you remove the challenge that makes conquest feel valuable. Respect becomes attractive only when it's earned rather than freely given. The man who respects everyone equally appears to have no standards. The man who respects selectively appears to have discernment. Women want to be chosen by men who are choosy, not by men who accept anyone who shows interest. The balance is crucial. Complete disrespect repels, but complete respect also repels. The sweet spot lies in respectful behavior that comes with clear boundaries, standards, and the willingness to withdraw that respect when it's not reciprocated appropriately. Comment: respect killed attraction. If you've ever been dumped by someone who said you were too nice or too good for them. Section 2. The challenge addiction. When difficulty becomes desire. Women become psychologically addicted to men who present ongoing challenges to their ego, their expectations, and their attempts at control. Machiavelli observed, "The vulgar crowd follows appearances. In attraction, women follow the appearance of value, and nothing signals value more clearly than a man who doesn't desperately seek their approval. The challenge isn't in winning her, it's in continuing to be someone worth winning even after she's interested." Machiavelli understood that humans are motivated more by what they might lose than by what they might gain. This principle, known as loss aversion, explains why women often become more interested in men who seem like they might slip away than in men who seem permanently available. The possibility of loss creates urgency that permanent security cannot generate. Marcus discovered this accidentally when he started dating Lisa while building a demanding business. His natural focus on work meant he wasn't always available when Lisa wanted attention. He would sometimes go days without texting, miss calls due to meetings, and prioritize business deadlines over date nights. Instead of losing interest, Lisa began planning her schedule around his availability and expressing frustration that she couldn't figure him out. The psychological mechanism at work is called cognitive dissonance, the mental discomfort that occurs when behavior doesn't match expectations. Women expect men who are interested in them to be consistently available, accommodating, and eager to please. When a man displays interest but doesn't follow the expected pattern of desperate pursuit, it creates mental tension that the brain tries to resolve through increased investment in understanding and pursuing him. Women enjoy the process of earning male attention more than they enjoy receiving it freely. This is why the hard-to-get strategy works. It makes the woman work for something she might otherwise take for granted. The effort she invests in pursuing you creates psychological ownership. She begins to feel like she has earned you, rather than that you were given to her. The challenge must be authentic rather than manufactured. Fake unavailability appears manipulative and gets exposed quickly. Real unavailability, caused by genuine priorities, goals, and interests that don't revolve around her, creates sustainable attraction because it's based on your actual value rather than performance. Strategic challenge involves maintaining your own life momentum regardless of her interest level. Continue pursuing your goals, maintaining your friendships, developing your skills, and building your future even when she's showing strong interest. This consistency demonstrates that your value doesn't depend on her validation and won't disappear if she becomes more invested. The most effective challenge is unpredictability within boundaries. Be reliable about important things, keeping your word, showing up when you commit, treating her with basic respect, but be unpredictable about availability, attention, and accommodation. This creates security about your character while maintaining excitement about your accessibility. Women test men constantly to determine their level of desperation and dependence. These tests often look like unreasonable requests, emotional manipulation, or attempts to make you jealous. The man who fails these tests by accommodating every demand appears weak. The man who passes by maintaining his boundaries appears strong. Strength is inherently attractive while weakness is inherently repulsive. The challenge addiction develops because women begin to associate the uncertainty you create with the excitement they feel. Their brain chemistry literally changes to crave the dopamine hits that come from earning your approval rather than receiving it automatically. This creates a psychological bond that feels more intense than relationships where approval comes easily. However, the challenge must be balanced with occasional reward. If you're always unavailable, always unimpressed, always withholding approval, you become not challenging but simply uninterested. The key is variability. Sometimes being more available, sometimes less. Sometimes showing more interest, sometimes less. This unpredictability keeps her psychology engaged without making her feel completely hopeless. The goal isn't to make her suffer, it's to make her value your attention by not giving it away freely. When your approval and availability feel precious rather than automatic, she'll work to earn and maintain them. This work creates investment, and investment creates attachment. Comment, challenge addiction. If you've ever noticed women losing interest once they felt completely secure about your feelings for them. Section 3, the withdrawal weapon, when absence creates obsession. The most powerful tool in the attraction arsenal isn't what you give a woman, it's what you take away. Machiavelli wrote, "Since love and fear can hardly exist together, if we must choose between them, it is far safer to be feared than loved." In relationships, the fear of losing your attention often creates stronger bonds than the comfort of having it. Strategic withdrawal of your presence, energy, and validation forces women to confront how much they've come to depend on you. Machiavelli recognized that people value what they fear losing more than what they're confident possessing. This principle explains why women often take reliable men for granted, while obsessing over men whose interest seems uncertain. The threat of loss activates psychological mechanisms that security cannot trigger. James experienced this power when he withdrew from a relationship with Rebecca after she consistently canceled plans at the last minute. Instead of arguing or expressing hurt, James simply became less available. He stopped initiating contact, took longer to respond to messages, and made plans that didn't include her. Within 2 weeks, Rebecca was texting more frequently, suggesting activities, and questioning why he seemed different lately. The withdrawal must be proportional to her behavior rather than arbitrary punishment. When she shows disrespect, you withdraw respect. When she shows inconsistency, you withdraw consistency. When she shows lack of appreciation, you withdraw the things she hasn't been appreciating. This creates a natural consequence system that teaches her the value of treating you well. Effective withdrawal isn't dramatic or announced. It's simply the natural result of redirecting your energy toward people and activities that provide better returns on investment. You don't tell her you're pulling back. You just gradually become less available as other priorities naturally take precedence. The psychology behind withdrawal's effectiveness is that humans are loss-averse creatures who notice negative changes more acutely than positive ones. She'll notice the absence of your attention faster than she noticed its presence. This asymmetry makes withdrawal a more powerful influence tool than increased giving. Withdrawal also forces her to experience life without the benefits she'd grown accustomed to receiving from your attention. The contrast between having your focus and losing it clarifies its value in ways that constant availability never could. She begins to miss what she didn't realize she valued until it was gone. The temporal aspect of withdrawal is crucial. It must last long enough for her to genuinely feel the absence, but not so long that she moves on entirely. The goal is to create awareness of your value, not to punish her into submission. Effective withdrawal creates desire for reconciliation, rather than resentment about rejection. During withdrawal periods, focus your energy on genuinely valuable activities, work projects, personal fitness, skill development, social activities with friends who appreciate your company. This isn't fake busy work designed to make her jealous. It's real investment in yourself that makes the withdrawal sustainable and authentic. Women often respond to withdrawal by escalating their efforts to regain your attention. This escalation can include increased communication, physical affection, accommodation of your preferences, or addressing behaviors that caused the withdrawal. The key is to recognize these efforts without immediately returning to previous levels of availability. The withdrawal weapon works because it demonstrates that your attention isn't infinitely renewable or unconditionally available. It has limits, requirements, and standards that must be met to maintain access. This scarcity makes your attention valuable rather than taken for granted. However, withdrawal must must be strategic rather than vindictive. The goal is to establish healthier relationship dynamics, not to create fear or anxiety for its own sake. Used properly, withdrawal teaches appreciation and respect. Used improperly, it becomes emotional abuse that damages both parties. The most effective withdrawal is the kind where you genuinely redirect your attention toward more rewarding activities and relationships. This authenticity prevents withdrawal from becoming a manipulation tactic and transforms it into a natural consequence of how she chooses to treat you. Comment: withdrawal power. If you've ever gained more respect by becoming less available than you lost by being too available. Section 4. The strategic disrespect mastery. Building attraction through boundaries. P. Balance. The highest level of attraction strategy isn't about being disrespectful. It's about being so respectful of yourself that you refuse to accept disrespect from others. Machiavelli's ultimate insight: the lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. The complete man combines the fox's cunning with the lion's strength, knowing when to be charming and when to be firm, when to give attention and when to withdraw it. Machiavelli understood that true power comes from having options and being willing to use them. In attraction, this means building a life so fulfilling that any individual woman must earn her place in it, rather than being handed access automatically. This isn't cruelty. It's self-respect that naturally creates the dynamics women find irresistibly attractive. The balance between respect and disrespect requires understanding that women test men constantly to determine their level of self-worth. These tests often appear as unreasonable demands, emotional manipulation, attempts to make you jealous, or gradual boundary violations. Your response to these tests determines whether attraction increases or decreases. Passing the tests requires calm enforcement of your standards without anger, explanation, or negotiation. When she arrives late consistently, you leave after waiting 15 minutes, not to punish her, but because your time has value. When she speaks disrespectfully, you end the conversation, not to control her, but because you don't accept disrespectful communication. The strategic implementation involves creating a clear hierarchy of values, where your self-respect sits at the top, above any individual relationship. This hierarchy guides your decisions during conflicts. You choose self-respect over harmony, authenticity over acceptance, boundaries over accommodation. This consistency demonstrates strength that women find attractive. Practical application requires developing genuine alternatives that make your standards sustainable. If you're going to withdraw attention from women who don't appreciate it, you need interesting activities and relationships to redirect that attention toward. If you're going to refuse to accommodate disrespectful behavior, you need the emotional strength to follow through consistently. The emotional regulation component is crucial. Strategic disrespect must come from strength rather than insecurity, from boundaries rather than revenge, from self-respect rather than manipulation. Women can sense the difference between a man who withdraws because he values himself and a man who withdraws to hurt others. Personal confession: I spent years confusing kindness with weakness and thinking that showing endless patience would eventually earn women's love and respect. What I discovered was that my excessive accommodation actually signaled low self-worth and created relationships where I was taken for granted while providing emotional labor for women who gave little in return. The transformation came when I realized that self-respect isn't selfish. It's necessary for creating relationships where both people feel challenged to bring their best selves. When I started maintaining boundaries and standards, my relationships improved dramatically because women began treating me with the respect I demonstrated for myself. The long-term strategy involves using these dynamics to create relationships based on mutual respect rather than one-sided accommodation. The goal isn't to control women through fear of loss. It's to attract women who appreciate strength and reciprocate investment rather than those who exploit kindness and take advantage of accommodation. The ethical framework requires understanding that these techniques work best when used to establish healthy relationship dynamics rather than to manipulate vulnerable people. Strategic disrespect should elevate both parties by creating challenge that promotes growth, not create anxiety that damages self-esteem. The mastery level involves making these behaviors natural expressions of genuine self-worth rather than calculated strategies. When you truly value yourself, maintaining boundaries feels normal rather than difficult. When you have genuine options, being selective feels natural rather than strategic. Machiavelli's final lesson. The most attractive man isn't the one who treats women badly or the one who treats them like goddesses. It's the one who treats himself with enough respect that others naturally want to earn his approval rather than assuming they already have it. The ultimate recognition is that women don't want to be disrespected. They want to be with men who respect themselves enough to maintain standards. The disrespect that creates attraction isn't about harming women. It's about refusing to harm yourself through endless accommodation of behavior that doesn't serve mutual growth. Comment: self-respect attraction. If you're ready to create relationships where your standards elevate both you and the women who choose to meet them, like this video only if you commit to building self-respect that naturally creates the dynamics women find attractive. Subscribe for more strategies that separate men who get chosen from men who beg to be chosen. Your transformation begins when you stop trying to earn love through accommodation and start earning respect through boundaries.